Welcome, welcome. Happy Monday to Andy Franks, Mr. Hollywood. So glad to see you on Instagram. Vianney Tianchu, so glad you're here. Dr. Barbara Polk, so glad that you're here this morning. We're getting ready to get started with the Monday Mindset Movement in about a couple of minutes. Not even a couple of minutes. 30 seconds, 51 seconds, a minute and 2 seconds. I don't know. Yeah, we're getting ready to get started with the Monday Mindset Movement. Yes, so glad that you're here. Don Kirk Lewis, you are here. Glad to see you on YouTube, my friend. Danny Lewis, good morning. Good to see you. My people on LinkedIn, go ahead and say what's up so I know you're there. I see you. But I gotta hear your comments. LinkedIn doesn't allow me to see your name unless you say something. Say something to me this morning. Hey y'all, we are here. It's Monday. And it's time for the Monday Mindset Movement. Listen, y'all, I am capable of creating a future filled with love and compassion. Say that with me. I have access to infinite creativity and problems don't defeat me. My heart is open to countless creative possibilities. How about that for an affirmation this morning? What if you could see the world not as it is, but as it could be? What if the secret to unlocking your full creative potential was just a mindset shift away? Let's talk about that this morning. Let's talk about breaking through creative blocks to finding inspiration in the mundane. Let's figure out how to harness your creativity. Let's kickstart the day with some power. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the Monday Mindset Movement, everybody. I am Robert Kennedy III. RK3, that's me. The Monday Mindset Movement. Yes, 15 to 30 minutes of motivation, elevation, and inspiration designed to get you thinking, blinking, and rocking and rolling through your week. Thank y'all for showing up today. My goodness, I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you for showing up today on LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and even Twitch this morning. I am glad that you're here. Let's see who's in the place. Indy Jabble, so glad that you're here on LinkedIn this morning. Ooh, yeah. Amrit, so glad that you're here on Instagram. Barbara Polk, so glad that you're here on Instagram. Andy Franks, Mr. Hollywood, good to see you. Danny Lewis, good to see you. Jessica, good to see you. Good to see you. Jamie, good to see you this morning. My gosh, we've got some fantastic people in the place. Yes, I am glad that y'all are here this morning. Yeah. Guess what, y'all? We're getting ready to go live. We actually are live. How about this? Let's do it. Hey.
It's time to get motivated, elevated, and accelerated. It's your time to jump out of your comfort zone and reach higher. It's time to get up and go. Grab your cup of grit and your daily dose of resilience. It's time for the Monday Mindset Movement with your host, Robert Kennedy III, RK3. It's time.
I don't know if y'all were getting a little bit of feedback just now. Hopefully you weren't. UC Maritza Mercy, so glad that you're here this morning. Yeah, I love it. Welcome to the Monday Mindset Movement, y'all. Robert Kennedy III here. RK3. That's me. I hope you all are ready for a good time this morning. I hope you all are ready for a good time and to think a little bit. This morning, we're here to think. Let me ask you a question. This morning. Do you remember coloring in your coloring book as a child? Right? Do you remember what that was like? Go ahead and share with me. If you remember in the chat what that was like, tell me. Right? Maybe you don't remember it exactly as you felt it, but if you watch children, right? If you watch children, you can see the joy, right? We felt joy, we felt freedom, we felt ownership we were creating our world, right? Let's go back just a little bit further. Do you remember what it was like when you first learned how to walk? Right? What was that like? Okay, maybe you don't remember that. But maybe if we go back a little bit further, what was it like when you first learned how to speak, when you first started to learn how to talk? Do you remember that? Do you remember messing up the words and pronouncing them horribly? Do you remember trying to formulate a sentence that made absolutely no sense to anyone? Do you remember rambling on, nonsensically, babbling, utter nonsense, and everyone, yay, standing there to cheer you on? Of course not. You don't remember that stuff. Indy remembers coloring, yes, and you still enjoy coloring. Good. It occurred to me the other day, as I was thinking, because I do that from time to time, that when we are babies and infants, the world gets it, right? The world gets it. But once we move to a certain space, the world doesn't understand creativity anymore in the same way. Once we begin to do a few things independently, the rules change. And then so do we. Right? What am I talking about? Well, as infants babble along, as they struggle with language, as they mess it up, as they fumble along, we let them. Because they're learning. They're experiencing, they're playing, they're exploring. Then, as they get older, we begin to give them the rules of grammar. Right? We give them some structure, and we give them a way to be accepted into social norms. So my question is, why is it that when we are older, we give people rules first and then expect them to be creative after? You get onboarded for a job, they give you all the rules, they tell you everything you can't do, and then they tell you, hey, think outside the box. Be innovative. You want to eat? Get this book. Follow this recipe. Heat it up this way. Now, listen, I get it. There's safety to think about. There's insurance. There's liabilities. There's legal stuff to think about. But I can't help but think about how we think about creativity. Do we leave room for it early enough, or do we think rules first? Have we lost our ability, or have we severely compressed our ability to harness our innate creative power? We're impressed when people are creative. We are. When someone writes a book, we're impressed. We're like, oh my gosh, I wish I could write a book. When somebody writes a song, we're impressed. When somebody draws a picture, any picture, sometimes it's a stick figure, color us impressed. And it's not that we shouldn't be impressed. I wonder though, are we so impressed because we haven't realized our own ability to perform the same actions at the level we desire? How creative are you? And when was the last time that you did something creative? Right? Why is it so hard to be creative? As I think about writing books, is that an ability that some people have and other people just innately don't have? They can't put pen to paper. They can't put ideas together. They can't write paragraphs one after the other. Is that something? Is that a thing? Do you remember as a kid making up songs, making up little poems, or just making up melodies, or just singing? If you've ever watched kids playing by themselves, a lot of times they're often just humming songs, or they're just making up tunes. Right? But as we get older, as we become adults, we seem to lose that, and we become impressed by others who have it still, as if We don't have it. How creative are you? When was the last time you did something creative? Why is it so hard to be creative? I remember living or visiting my grandparents in Toronto, Canada. And they had a person living downstairs. His name was Donovan. Is that his name? Yeah, I hope he's not watching the show. I'm not making fun of you, Donovan. Really, I'm not. But Donovan, I thought Donovan was weird. Donovan, I would go downstairs to the basement sometimes to get something, and I would see Donovan sitting in a couch downstairs because they had an apartment area downstairs, and he would leave his front door open, and I would see Donovan sitting on this couch, just sitting there, staring straight ahead, looking. And I thought that was so weird. I'm like, dude, you're sitting down here for hours. Maybe he didn't have a TV. I don't know what it was. But he would sit in the chair and he would just look forward for hours. And I thought that was so strange. Tyran Jackson, official. How glad to see you. And Akins, official. Good to see you this morning. We got a lot of official people on Instagram this morning. So glad that you're here. I thought this was so weird. But maybe it wasn't weird because I was sitting there watching him. But anyway, that's not about me. And I thought this was so weird that he would sit there and just kind of stare off into space. And I told my dad, I went to my dad and I said, hey, Dad, this guy is downstairs. He's just sitting there and he's looking off into space in this chair. And my dad, I thought my dad was going to say, yeah, that is weird, son. Don't waste your life away. My dad said, you know what? That's a great life. My dad said, that's a great life. And as I thought about it, his point was that Donovan embraced quiet. Donovan embraced imperceptible activity. Right? What looks to us to be nothing happening on the outside was an entire world of activity on the inside. Right? He had an internal world where anything was possible. Is it possible that we suppress our own creativity because we're preoccupied with control or our fear of losing control? Why is it that we suppress creativity? Why is it that we push back on sitting and seemingly doing nothing? Why is it that we push back on sitting and thinking? Why do we keep filling our time and our days with busy and rules? And again, I'm not getting rid of rules. But is it possible that we suppress creativity because we're preoccupied with control or our fear of losing it? True creativity may require being uncomfortable or being comfortable with uncertainty. I shouldn't say it may require it, it actually does require it. True creativity requires being uncomfortable and uncertain, or being uncomfortable or being comfortable with uncertainty. True creativity requires trusting the chaos that precedes creative beauty. True creativity requires the belief that what seems impossible can and will be drawn into the realm of possibility by uncertain courage. Wow. There's a book called Gratitude and Trust by Paul Williams and Tracy Jackson. And there's a line in it that says, I don't know how to do this, but something inside me does. How often have you been confronted with something and you feel like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to do this. This doesn't seem possible. This doesn't seem like something I can do. How often have you been confronted with something like that? With that thought? And then later on, the thing gets done, right? The thing gets done, and you realize that somehow you figured it out. Somehow it was figured out. I don't know how to do this, but something inside me does. I'll say it this way. You are already created and creative. You have the ability to create daily. Your ideas are the seed of your ability to create delicious fruit. We are infinitely creative because we were created by an infinite creator. That in and of itself is such a scary thought for most of us, right? That we suppress our possibilities. Marianne Williamson, I like how she says it. She says, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light and not our darkness that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? And I'll add, creative. And then she says, actually, who are you not to be? My question for you today, as we begin to land the plane here, is, have you suppressed your creativity? Have you run away from who you actually are? Are you nervous or are you scared of the uncertain? And do you try to avoid uncertainty as much as possible? Or are you willing to lean into your creative genius? Are you willing to lean into who you actually were created to be? Are you willing to lean into the power and the possibility that you have innately? As we do every week, I want you to do a little bit of homework. Here, I want you to sit down, and I want you to grab a piece of paper. I want you to grab a piece of paper, and I want you to write down 5 things that you want. Don't limit yourself. Just freely. Anything that you want. Write down 5 things that you want. And after you write down those 5 things, I want you to choose one. Just choose one, randomly. Doesn't matter which one. One of them will stand out to you. And then after you choose one, I want you to write down one thing that you can do right now, today, to move one step closer to achieving it. Okay, so 3 things. 3 things. Write down 5 things that you want. Choose one, and then write down one thing that you can do right now, today, to move one step closer to achieving it. Then set a time on your calendar and do it. Set a time on your calendar where you can lean in, as they said in We Bought a Zoo, just have insane courage for 20 seconds. Right? Set a time on your calendar and do that thing. Hey y'all, that's it for this week. Join me on Wednesday at 1:30 for Story to Sales on LinkedIn Audio. We're talking about the power of property stories this week, how to turn your listing into a compelling narrative. Come on, real estate agents. Come on, real estate professionals, small business owners. Come on through. Hey, if you want to know when we're going live, text live to 240-557-8679. Live to 240-557-8679. You want to know when and where we're going to be on Wednesday? Text live to 240-557-8679 and I'll send you that link. I want to end today with a quick read from this book called The Shape of an Idea by Grant Snyder. And it says, I'm leaving the rat race. I'm joining the snail race. I will commute with clouds. I'll keep up with the caterpillars, collect the most cabbage, sleep with the stars, slug anyone in my way, and watch my life spiral into control. Yeah, I want you to think about that. Hey y'all, listen, it's Monday. It is. And we want to shift your mindset to a place of growth. We want to shift your mindset, not just on Monday. We want to encourage you to take your Monday mindset into tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day. Be curious. Make a choice. Move. Start a movement. Be a movement. Join me next week Monday on the Monday Mindset Movement. 8 a.m. on Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn. Yes, until then, be amazing, my friends.